last 3 years, if you take a moment and you think about the different games that you've seen come out, they've been treated kind of like smash and grab. They're very short term. In the beginning, they're pumped up really big, really high. I mean, you see the adverts everywhere, full website takeovers, and 6 months later, there's not another drop of content left for you.
Hello, Internet. Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man, here from MMOBomb.com, bringing you another first look video. And before you Astellia Online superfans get mad at me for using Steam charts in the opening clip, I understand the game can be played via its own launcher on its own website, and you superfans that supported the project probably play through there. But the numbers do give us a good idea of the player base, and more importantly, the percentage decrease in a player base. So the example, while not exact, probably does represent quite a bit of player base drop in Astellia Online. Why do I bring that up, though? We're talking about Astellia Royal today in our first look, which earlier this year, you'd be forgiven if you thought it was going to be a battle royale based on the Astellia Online universe, but no, my friends. It is much more than that. Buckle up, because Uncle Mike's going to sit down and tell you the tale of a game that launched in Korea and in the West here as a buy-to-play MMORPG, shut down in Korea, isn't doing well in the United States, and under the same developer and publisher, with the help of a third entity that, to my knowledge, knows more about blockchains and cryptocurrencies than video games, decided to relaunch Astellia Online, a game still available for buy-to-play as of this recording in the West via Steam for about $26 or $27. They decided to relaunch it as a free-to-play experience both in Korea, where it had previously shut down, and in the West, where the buy-to-play version is still an option for you to buy today as of this recording. Buckle up. It's going to be a good one.
We'll call it a plague of pay to win on the industry itself, and that's hurting us as professionals, that's hurting us as players, and it's something that needs to change, and Astellia wants to be a part of that change.
All right, Internet, here we go, taking a look at Astellia Royal. Now, this is a newly free-to-play game brought to you by Way2Bit and Studio 8. Those are both the publishers and developers of the buy-to-play version, Astellia Online. But we enter in a third party into the free-to-play mix named Bora, a company that is designed and aggressively pursuing blockchain cryptocurrency type transactions in a gaming portfolio. Taking a look at the free-to-play version today, yes, we will be making some comparisons to the buy-to-play version because we just have to. In all of my years of covering free-to-play games, I've seen a lot of weird shit, right? I've seen free-to-play games go buy-to-play all of a sudden. I've seen buy-to-play go free-to-play. Subscription, drop the subscription and go free-to-play. I've seen games canceled. I've seen games canceled in a region and come back under a different publisher in a different region. I've seen it all until today, where a buy-to-play game already exists in the West. Its counterpart in Korea closed down due to presumably a lack of a player base and is now picked up, re-released in both Korea and here in the West as free-to-play, while the buy-to-play version is still running in the West. And yes, this kind of gets messy. This kind of gets very, very messy. Going through character creation, it is a pretty robust character creator. Upon first glance, you really don't have a lot of options. You'll be clicking some different outfits, some presets on your face, on your hair, picking colors, things like that. But as you get a little more into it and you get over to the details tab, you'll find you do have a little more flexibility to really get creative with your build. Now, for the most part, the female characters are, big-breasted, small-hipped, but you can change the size of thighs and breasts if you want. And the guys are all muscle-bound hulks, ranging from very, 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 very tone to flat-out incredible Hulk. You have 5 classes to choose from, ranging the gamut of warriors who specialize in melee to healers, called sorcerers off the bat, rangers or archer type classes and magic user classes. However, only 2 of them give you the option to do male and female. The other 3 are gender locked to female. And again, if you were following Astellia Online, this was a big thing when it was going to come west, where the developer said, no, the Korean version does have gender locking. We are going to free that up here in the West because we know you don't like gender locking. Now, we may not have it all ready for launch, but we're going to have at least 1 or 2 ready so that you can see we mean it. Well, to this day, there are still only those 2 that are available to be male or female. The game specializes in alternate advanced classes as you reach level cap, and that brings us to kind of the key tenet differences between this free-to-play version and the buy-to-play version. First, the level requirement for your class advancement in the buy-to-play version is 50. It is only 35 in the free-to-play version. Now, before you say that's ultimately a good thing, you get to mess with those advanced classes earlier. Hold, pump the brakes, we'll come back to that. Open world PvP exists in the free-to-play game, not something in the buy-to-play game. Level restrictions on gear are removed from the free-to-play game, so if you can, through a friend or through some other means, grab a powerful-ass endgame sword, yeah, you can go ahead and equip that whenever the hell you want in the free-to-play version. If you like something that starts out low level, you can enhance it along the way to keep it as your primary weapon as you go. So that's been removed. There are some other small changes. You're going to notice there's an additional dungeon in Astellia Royal, an additional area, some additional quests in that area. But on the flip side, certain quests from the leveling experience in Astellia Royal have been removed when compared to Astellia Online. Now, the primary reason that I can think of is probably because the numbers don't work with the level squish, the level restriction squish, if you keep those things. I am going to edit out a bunch of loading screens, however. The game does not run very well, particularly when it comes to loading screens. There are an awful lot of them, so let's edit that out and jump ahead. Now, before we start beating this game up too badly, I should say this right from the outset. It's not a terrible MMORPG. It's just not a great MMORPG either. The best way I can describe this one to you is if you already have an MMORPG home, whether that be Final Fantasy XIV, World of Warcraft, Star Trek Online, pick a free-to-play game. If you have an MMORPG home already, this probably isn't going to pull you away from that home. Maybe you'll want to mess with the Estelle system, which is their primary unique, in quotes, feature. It's basically a pet system where you can gather them up and train them and enhance their skills and make certain decks of Estelles to run around and party with you. Maybe you'll mess with that mechanic for a little bit and then cast it aside. If you don't have an MMORPG home and you like that kind of idea, maybe you can find a new home here. I don't know. Would it be in the buy-to-play version or the free-to-play version? Again, that's going to depend on you quite a bit and what you're willing to deal with as far as monetization, because yeah.
We'll call it a plague of pay-to-win on the industry itself.
This is one that I have no problem saying, in my book, this fits the mold of typical pay-to-win. There's a lot of stuff in the cash shop, which we'll get to later, that isn't in the buy-to-play cash shop, and you can tell that the game is built around enticing you, encouraging you, hoping that you will go and make that purchase. From a gameplay perspective, typical WASD movement. We're in a little tutorial now. It will open up in a little bit here, but right now it's kind of an on-rails tutorial. WASD movement, tab target as far as your controls, hotbar mentality, so your rotations, those types of things. Yeah, hey, if you like World of Warcraft, if you like Final Fantasy, if you like a myriad of free-to-play different games, yeah, this is going to fit the mold as far as that goes. Combat, while they do try and make it feel a little bit action-y in the use of telegraphs and a dodge roll, a directional dodge roll that you can use that's on a cooldown timer, it's not action-based. It is totally tab-targeted. Maybe you'll use your dodge roll to get out of some telegraphs here and there. But for the most part, if you're playing a ranged character, you're going to be at range and casting your spells, which, while you are moving, you cannot cast certain spells. Other spells, are going to require that, or be instant so you can cast on the go. most are going to require for your spellcasters that you stand still until the cast goes off. Now you can see we've already gotten our first Estelle. This is Rhoda. The idea behind the game, the story behind the game is pretty typical fare. There's a good guy and a bad guy situation. They've been fighting for a while, and now you're pulled into the mix here. You're a star caller. You are able to use the power of Astels, these little assistants that may be based on constellations, maybe little automatons, like in the case of Rhoda. Each of them has their own little ability set to use. In this case, Rhoda can use a taunt to play tank for you for a little bit if you need to. And you can customize, though, the loadout. Not exactly which Estelles you get. Some you will get in gameplay. Some you will get through random card pools in the cash shop or through card pools that are rewards for higher-end content, whether that be dungeons or things like that. But you are trying to collect as many as you can so that you can make your own deck of these Estelles and go whoop up on some asses in the universe. Do yourself a favor. As soon as you go into the game, make sure you turn camera shake off. It is a huge pain in the ass. And if you want to edit the UI, simply click on the lock in the upper left-hand corner, and you'll be able to move about any of the UI pieces that you would like to move. You want to move, you want to resize, you'll be able to get any of that done through here. And while it could use a little more functionality, it is nice that at least this amount of functionality is here. A lot of times, particularly in free-to-play games, we don't get this type of option. So take advantage of it if you don't like the default UI. Now, here's where the big feature of the game, the Estelles, starts to get a little dicey. You'll notice I have 3 bars in the upper left-hand corner, and that's the same for any class that you pick. You'll have a health bar, a mana bar, and then an AP or action points bar. The act of summoning your Estelles costs AP, that yellow bar at the bottom. But the very act of being summoned and be walking around with you drains AP. Now, you do recover AP over time. That's why you'd notice my yellow bar is not decreasing right now, even though I have Rhoda out. Rhoda is costing me AP, but my tick of regeneration of AP is offsetting that right now. We're going to pick up a second Estelle right here. Now, this second Estelle that you get varies by class. So if you choose a class different than Warrior, this will not be the second Estelle you'll get. You'll get a different one. But summoning both of these in certain situations, depending on the type of Estelle you have, might not allow you to keep them out by default. So here in the training mission, it works. I can have both of them out. My AP is not draining. And that's another feature of the free-to-play game that they say in most cases you can have 2 out at a time without having to worry about things. Again, that does depend on what Estelles they are because some of them have different ticks of AP required every second that they are out. So 2 really expensive ones, yeah, you might not be able to do that. Your AP will just drain and drain and drain until you don't have any more. But guess what? There is a solution. There are Atra potions you can find in the game in Astellia Royal that will increase the amount of AP you regenerate per tick. So you can have more and more and more Estelles out at a certain time. I think the limit is 4, but don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that one. But you can have multiples out at the same time. Oh, and by the way, hey, yeah, if you don't feel like farming up that potion, it's available in your cash shop. Don't worry. You can go ahead and get it in there. This is one of those games where you're going to be micromanaging everything here, whether it's the Estelles, which we're looking at now, and their ability set, and equipping them with various gems to give them different stat increases. All of these gems, by the way, you can get them, you guessed it, in-game or in your local friendly cash shop in different bundles. Your gear works the same way. You will be upgrading your gear, enchanting your gear. You will need armor scrolls, weapon scrolls, accessory scrolls to do that type of enchantment. And guess what? Yeah, you can get those in-game, but they're also available in bundles from your local friendly cash shop. There are multiple currencies in the cash shop. The primary being gems, that is the actual cash shop currency itself. You give money, you get gems. The Zender Currency is a loyalty type currency. It's gained by playing in the arena or the Avalon. I think it's Avalon? the PvP slash PvPvE type activities that are there. So if you engage in that, you'll get Zender. The last is Asper, which is the in-game gold, which you can accrue through just normal gameplay.
We'll call it a plague of pay-to-win on the industry itself.
There's also a battle pass in this one, in the free-to-play one. This does not exist in the buy-to-play version. 750 gems, so we could take a look at the breakdown of cost here to actually use that. Now, as far as the gameplay itself goes, we'll switch to some higher level activity just to give you a basic idea. As you're leveling, it is very quest hubby. Go 1, 2, 3 in order. Home point, home point, home point. Teleport, teleport, do your quests, come on back, turn them in, move to the next point. Performance-wise, the game is not all that great, particularly with the load screens, but even on just loading into an area, there's always a stutter stop. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm running with 32 gigs of RAM, and it just doesn't matter. There's always this stutter as you load into a new zone. But that's what you're going to be doing. That's pretty much it. Going from one quest hub to another, doing your quest. Dungeons come in a number of varieties, but you can see in the lower left there is a little red icon there for dungeon tickets. So you're even limited by how many dungeons you can run per day. And by the way, it isn't one dungeon, one ticket, because the dungeons have varying degrees of difficulty. They cost varying degrees of tickets. Now, those tickets regenerate daily, and you can buy them right here in the cash shop, along with items that will auto-loot. Yeah, so if you saw me looting and you were like, Mike, why didn't you auto-loot? Yeah, that's an item that you have to buy in the cash shop, and it only gets you an hour. In the buy-to-play version, that's the same. There is an item that you buy to auto-loot. There is a one-time purchase of a ring that will allow you to auto-loot forever. That was also in some of the Founders Packs for the game, the buy-to-play version. But there is also the scroll that you saw in this one, except the scroll in the free-to-play version works for an hour. The scroll in the buy-to-play version works for 24 hours. And there's a lot of small cash shop differences like that. For instance, in the free-to-play version, you get 3 character slots to build characters and have alts. In the buy-to-play version, you get 5, so you get more in the buy-to-play version. Character slots in the free-to-play version cost $11 per slot. If you do the gem transfer, you do the gem conversion for dollars, $11. And in the buy-to-play, they're 10. So yeah, not much of a difference between the cost for a slot, but in the buy-to-play version, you're getting 2 extra slots. Only 3 off the bat in the free-to-play version. But I think what we need to get to first, we've covered everything. You've gotten everything you need to know. There are a few things, two things that I would like to leave you with. One, the cash shop differences are pretty big. There are a lot of, hey, not just saving time, but go straight for power. You want to go buy a bunch of armor enhancement scrolls and jack your gear up to oblivion because the primary stat is CP, one specific number, your combat points, and we've seen other games like this. You want to go jack that number through the roof by buying a bunch of armor scrolls, then you can do that. You can do exactly that, jack the equipment up, gather up all the CP you want to gather, and away you go. On the flip side of that, you don't have to do it, but, quest rewards only last so long. Running dungeons, being limited on running those dungeons, only lasts so long. So there's definitely an enticing factor to do that, to go get some scrolls, to go get some Atro potions so you can mess around with your Astels, to get the Astels themselves through random pools, to try and rank up the Astels. It is heavily pushing you to use the cash shop. And here's the biggest one of all. The in-game auction house for the free-to-play version runs on the cash shop currency. Now, since there is no limitation on the levels on equipment anymore, somebody can put high-end equipment from higher-end dungeons on there, and somebody can just go buy them by buying some gems for cash, and going to hit the auction house. No joke, just looking through this screen right now, you could see that I could use the auction house for a few bucks, get some gems, and over double my CP score, basically my power stat right off the bat. So yeah. Do my character stats still have to be increased? Dexterity, stuff like that, through leveling up and getting skills and modifying those skills and modifying my own character stats? Yes. But that is a huge way to power increase yourself very, very quickly, is through the auction house. And I know the other people on the other side of this argument are going to say, well, yeah, but that also gives me, as a player that doesn't want to spend money on gems, the ability to farm up items, sell them, and get cash shop currency without having to buy cash shop currency. And yeah, you're absolutely right. But what you're selling is power. You are selling the power to another player that is willing to pay the money to get it, rather than to play the game to get it. So, yeah.
We'll call it a plague of pay to win on the industry itself.
At the end of the day, I can't recommend personally either Astellia at this point. And again, that's not because it's a terrible MMORPG or anything. There's a fair amount of customization. When you get to your max level, you can switch into different advanced classes that change your abilities, change your rotation, specialize you a little more. You can use skill points to upgrade specific stats for your character. You're going to be managing the upgrade of your Astels. The Astels are entertaining and kind of fun to play with sometimes. There's tremendous amounts of voice acting in the game. That doesn't mean that all of it's good or that all the subtitles match the dubs. In fact, in a lot of cases, they don't. But there's a remarkable amount of voice acting for a free-to-play game here. But I can't recommend it. One, the free-to-play version is heavily, heavily pushing for the cash grab aspect of this by changing the numbers in a way that kind of push you to a cash shop purchase. And if you want to use the auction house, you have to use a cash shop purchase or acquire gems through selling stuff on said auction house. By the way, they get a cut of the sale, which doesn't make any sense because they get to determine the value per dollar of said currency. So it really, really doesn't make sense. And I can't even recommend, hey, if you think you're interested, go play Astellia Online, because that game isn't doing well here. And hey, I spent $27 on it. Turns out I was in the beta. I didn't actually buy it. So the last time I played it was beta. I had to buy it to go do days of research on multiple streams to make this first look video so that you didn't have to. Somebody owes me $27. But anyway, I can't even recommend that, because if you look at their forums and their Twitter, it's like Astellia Royal doesn't exist. Like, anytime it's mentioned, nobody officially says anything to give them any basic idea of what the hell is going on here. Why have we screwed over both player bases? Because it's not even the same server. The buy-to-play people are on their own version of the game with one server. The free-to-play people are on their own version of the game. Totally different leveling design and everything, and they're on their own server. They're not even the same clients. So they've created two different audiences. Does this mean Astellia Online, the buy-to-play, is going to close at some point, and then Royal becomes the de facto standalone free-to-play? That's the only thing that even makes remote sense to me. But nobody on the forums or on Twitter from the companies for Astellia Online will even recognize the damn thing exists. The entire thing is shady. I can't recommend it. It is just an absolute mess right now. If you want to check it out, go for it. If you're looking for a new MMORPG home, maybe this will do it for you. The Astels are kind of fun to mess with, and the rest of it is pretty standard fare, but you're going to do a lot of grinding if you aren't ready to shell out some cash. So, on that note, gang, I hope this has been fun and informative. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, give it a subscribe down below. Make sure you got those notifications on, and come on over for the Free-to-Play cast and Free-to-Play Weekly every week. Until next time, this is Magic Man saying stay safe, and we'll see you out on the servers.